web, of course, so you can tune in on the State of the City at Radio on Fire by going to State of the City, Radio on Fire, YouTube page, Radio on Fire, Facebook page, and of course, State of the City, Darren Muhammad Facebook page. Get in where you fit in, and fit in where you get in. I've been hearing a lot of people steal my rhymes, man. Y'all hear them on radio trying to steal my rhymes and steal my line. Feel free to call in and give them a checkup from the neck up. But let me start the show off as I always do by dedicating the show to my brother and friend, Brother Eric Easton, to all of those who made it through the week in this city, in this state, in this country, and on the planet, to, of course, one of the longest serving members of the Congressional Black Caucus who died this past Sunday going into Monday, which I think is interesting. Another one, of course, John Conyers from Detroit, Michigan, who was always, of course, the advocate who would introduce H.R. 40 regarding reparations. But, of course, he had some mob ties and some other parts that I maybe, if time permits, I'll talk about. But it's interesting that he was on that Judiciary Committee. I'll talk about that, too. But what's going on with the impeachment? Because it was interesting. He was over that Judiciary Committee and somebody didn't want him there when what was about to go down was going to go down. But I'll come back and talk about that. But we dedicate the show to John Conyers. We dedicate the show to the 5 brothers who now, according to the state of Maryland and the boards of public works, which held their meeting today, of course, the governor, the comptroller, and the state treasurer, that these brothers, I think it's 4 brothers and one white man. But these men who were wrongfully incarcerated and spent at least 20 years or more in prison, I'll give their names because I'll talk about that shortly, but they now will be given $9 million collectively, but that's about $80,000 a year for the rest of their lives. And so I'll talk about that, but I want to congratulate one in particular who I was honored to have on the State of the City radio show, Brother Clarence Shipley, Brother Scooter from Cherry Hill. So as the scriptures ask, can any good come out of Nazareth? We bring it up to date and say those ask the question, can any good come out of Cherry Hill? Here was a brother who came out of Cherry Hill, wrongfully incarcerated, convicted, spent over 20, 22, 25, or 27 years in prison. He's home now, and you heard him on the radio show last month with his attorney, and that gives hope to so many other brothers that are still languishing behind bars, that if that brother can do right and get compensated, then we want to now help other brothers and sisters, since this is the time of the year, which I'll talk about, that we see list of those who are in prison that should be exonerated, that should have sentences commuted, that should have pardons from the governor. Then this is the time of the year that civil rights, human rights organizations should be given a list of those brothers and sisters that are still locked up to the governor, to have those brothers and sisters pardoned, sentences commuted, and exonerated as well for those that are wrongfully convicted of crimes they did not commit. So you tune to the State of the City, but let me last but not least dedicate the show to a good brother who's from Baltimore, a brother who I know, Facebook friends, but also a teacher in Baltimore City Public Schools, Brother Ted Vernon, who was on the Wheel of Fortune show last night and represented Bird City, Baltimore City, Tubman City very well. I believe he won. I ain't going to say how much he won because some of y'all be calling him tonight. But Ted, can I get a loan? So he might say, you might want to leave me alone, but and get gone, as C. Miles would say. But I want to congratulate Brother Ted, just representing Baltimore City very well and going on Wheel of Fortune. And I jokingly thought about the time one of my teachers, Minister Jamil Muhammad, who was my jegna in the Nation of Islam, when he was on not Wheel of Fortune, but Jeopardy once, and he did very well. Came in second place, but I think they got him sat down for about 30 to 60 days by Minister Farrakhan by him going on a show, because in the Nation of Islam and our restrictive laws, we're forbidding. One of the restrictive laws is we don't play games of chances, no gambling in any form. So going on a show such as a Wheel of Fortune was like playing a game of chance or gambling per se. So, and I don't know if Minister Jamil had gotten permission at that time, but still my brother, still love him, and thank him, of course, for his work and his service. So you tune to the State of the City. Got to thank, of course, owners, operators of Radio on Fire, Brother Diamond Williams, and, of course, his able and capable partner in time and partner in prime, of course, bringing you prime time, of course, State of the City and Radio on Fire. Sister Nikki, got to thank them, and, of course, to support them, don't forget, go to Radio on Fire. all one word, Radio on Fire. And of course, to support Brother Muhammad, you can go to $ SOTC Muhammad, all one word, $ SOTC Muhammad. Let me delete this so that we can share that, and then we're coming back, get you back in for those that are watching online. But you're tuned to the State of the City. Phone number to get in on the conversation when we open up the lines is 404-436-1277. Again, phone number when we do open up the lines is, again, 404-436-1277. Want to start off, as I was honored to have a conversation with my brother and friend, Brother Chairman Fred Hampton Jr., and I just asked that we all, of course, keep that brother, his family, in our prayers, in our thoughts, send him some positive synergy of energy, and, of course, ask that the universal God and ancestors watch over him, as I said to him yesterday in my phone conversation, that these next 30 days, next 40 to 60 days are very critical and pivotal, because we're coming up on the 50th year anniversary of the assassination of his father, the Honorable Revolutionary Chairman Fred Hampton Sr., and of course the Minister of Defense Mark Clark. And I'm going to talk about that shortly, because there's two films that's coming out. There's the Harriet Tubman film, which I'm going to talk about shortly, but there's also the movie, I think it's Queen and Slim, which is kind of predictive programming about a black man, black woman shooting and killing of a police officer. And then we see some symbolisms of the Black Panther Party in that movie. But the lead actor in that movie, Daniel, what's his name? Kaula, the one was in Get Out. But he's now been chosen to play Chairman Fred Hampton Sr. in a movie that Ryan Coogler is in Chicago now filming, along with others. And I believe the title is going to be either Jesus Was My Homeboy, which Jesus wasn't a homeboy. So that on its first sight is a turn off for me, right? And of course the other one is called it's called Judas and the Black Messiah. So the film, apparently, which I'm going to talk about, is supposed to be told through the eyes of the FBI informant William O'Neill, not through the eyes of Chairman Fred Hampton Sr., or through, of course, at that time her name was Deborah Johnson, the wife of Chairman Fred Hampton Sr. So I had a problem with that, and of course shared that with Chairman Fred Hampton Jr., who I know is on tonight, of course, with his radio program, which comes on, of course, via live from Chi-Town or Chirac or Chicago. So we'll continue to talk about it. I'm going to hopefully within the next 2 weeks have them on. But we are coming up on December the 4th, which is the 50th year anniversary of the assassination of our revolutionary chairman and our two twin towers, Chairman Fred Hampton Sr. and Minister of Defense Mark Clark. So as I always say, our enemies always try to strike back or strike black around anniversaries, right? So therefore, we got to stay watchful, got to stay vigilant, as our Queen Mother, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, have always said, so that we don't repeat history, but we beat history. Because when the enemy strikes back on anniversaries, they'll come for the seeds, they'll come for the descendants, or they'll come for the spouse, or the wife, or the mother, right? Or the children, or the grandchildren. So I said, stay very watchful and vigilant. With my conversations with him yesterday, and those that are in Chicago and those that are listening and watching around the country, because I'll come back shortly and talk about the movie Queen and Slim, but also, of course, the movie that they're shooting in Chicago, and what's the real motive, not maybe perhaps a Ryan Coogler, but Warner Brothers or others, of course, that are tied to that. What are their real motives now and wanting to do a depiction or a movie or a biopic of Chairman Fred Hampton Sr. and, of course, Minister of Defense Mark Clark, and why would they do it through the eyes of the informant, William O'Neill, who they said later, of course, committed suicide years later. But you tune to the State of the City. Before I get into that, I want to talk about, again, Baltimore news, because there's been a lot going on in Baltimore City. I thank those that went to the funeral and came back and reported to us what they saw, what they heard at the funeral of the late Congressman Elijah Cummings. He's gone, so we say maybe we get a better vegetation coming forward from the earth, man, right? But I want to thank Dr. Randy Short, who joined me on the State of the City radio show this past Saturday, along with Sister Reba Hawkins. And, of course, for those that didn't get copies of that, I'll make sure that I get a copy to you. I've just had a very busy schedule over the last couple of days, but we'll make sure we send out copies to those that would like to get a copy of that, whether through your phone or directly through your Facebook page as well. So, nevertheless, there's been a lot going on. As we mentioned and talked about, there was the death. There's been a lot of people dying. There was the death of what was the spokesperson for DPW? What's his name? Something Raymond. Just had a heart attack all of a sudden. When all of this issues are coming forward about DPW, from what's happening with the water up at Druid Park Lake Drive, which is a mess. Then you got the head of DPW, Rudy Child, who came here from Washer, and now he's leaving, and just a few months. And at a time where you also had the case of the sister, Miss Cunningham, who apparently went to work, was walking on a catwalk and fell into, right? What was that? Was that Back River treatment plant, the water, and died, right? And the city and DPW, I only know if they send somebody to a funeral, but they quickly went into, and she was from Cherry Hill, another beautiful sister. God rest her soul and bless her soul and her family. But again, They quickly went into defense mode. And, of course, you have that case and countless other cases that are coming now against Baltimore City and DPW. And as I keep saying, second to the police department, the second most corrupt department in the city of Baltimore is that Department of Public Works. And I'm not talking about them low-level rank-and-file employees down there. I'm talking about them ones up top in terms of the enormous amount of money that comes through there, right? That oftentimes is not accounted for. And at a time that we see citizens, black, brown, red, yellow, and white, having to pay these enormous high water bills, some estimated, some guesstimated, right? We finding out again that you got a large conglomerate corporation, the Ritz-Carlton, which are condos. And let me let you in on something that I know for sure. Years ago, when I was at a Board of Estimates meeting, the president of the community association, the same one that told me about that drunk ass Andre Alonzo, the superintendent of Baltimore City Public Schools at the time, that broke back, that big jabroni, Andre Alonzo, the same white man that told me about Andre Alonzo, he was testifying to the city council. Jack Young was there then. He told the city of Baltimore that the owners of the Ritz-Carlton wasn't paying water bills and they wasn't paying recordation taxes, man. So essentially what they was doing was hiding money and not paying money to the city of Baltimore. And yet Jack Young, as the city council president, did nothing and said nothing. Now he wants to pretend like, as the mayor, that he gonna make them pay. And you could take the Ritz-Carlton and then go to a lot of the large hotels that are not paying water bills, man. Yet they fleece the working class and middle class citizens in the city of Baltimore in terms of paying your water bill. Then if you get behind, you got some shysters that's working down there in DPW, working with what's them Jews used to work down there, Stanley Milsky and the boys. Think they still down there, not in the real estate department. We call it the still estate department. All right? And they will look at where you live, look at what development get ready to come through that neighborhood, and they will use that to try to shyster you out of your home in Baltimore City. And that's the reality of what's going on. You got a criminal enterprise operating in City Hall, and the mayors come and go. But that criminal enterprise remains the same. And if any mayor think they're going to do something, then, of course, they got the goods on them. So, therefore, they put them in a position when they already compromised. So they got the goods on them, whether it's the goods with them with some other woman that ain't their wife, or some other man that ain't his husband, or some little boys, some little girls, but they got the goods on them already. So they can't really be in a position to really execute power for our people or for the rest of the citizens in the city that really want to make a change in Baltimore City and have a real renaissance, black, brown, red, yellow, and white. That's the reality in 2019, that you got the Ritz-Carlton, but you can go to the majority of these major hotels, especially them ones in Harbor East. They ain't paying no water bill. Baltimore Zoo, as we found out, the zoo. At a time your children can't get fresh water in the school, the zoo not paying the water bill. And the guy that was the head of the Baltimore, the Maryland Zoo, used to be a county exec, Don Hutchison, man. Worked for Sun Trust. So you can't tell, he was the CEO at Sun Trust after he left there. Still on the board of SunTrust Bank. So you can't tell me he can count all that money for SunTrust, but he can't pay a water bill? And of course, if they find out they're not paying a water bill, the city makes, they make leeway for them, right? But for most of the citizens in the city of Baltimore, you don't get no leeway. Your stuff is already in tax sales. Or some shyster working between DPW, the Still Estate Department, and those over in the clerk of the court's office, man. Working to see what properties they want. And you go down there and you ain't checking on your properties. They already said they got lien on your property, or they got the sales and deeds to your property, man. This is a criminal enterprise that's running like a well-oiled machine. So they don't want you to stop or get in the way of what they're doing. But it's going to take ordinary men and women that do want to stop this to get in their way. Those that want to go down there and see what the judges are doing, see what them clerks doing down there. They got an abundance right before City Clerk Frank Conaway died. Now, I always say they tell black folk come out and vote. And I always say, when you go vote, let me know if you see any Hispanics in the voting line. You know what I mean? Let me know if you see any Indians from East India in the voting line. You see a few from the Caribbean, them Indians, right? West Indies, But do you see any East Indies in the voting line? Said, then while you're in there, let me know if you see any Koreans in the voting line, right? Yet, I noticed, because the Koreans give money, as it came out, was giving money to your mayor, Kathy Pugh, right? Giving money to Sheila Dixon when she was the mayor. Money to Martin O'Malley when he was the mayor, because they was part of the Korean Business Association, the Asian business cartels, right? And you got them with the Indians, you got them with the Pakistanis. Some of them try to call themselves a Muslim Business Association. They get some dum-dums like Bilal Ali and the rest of them running around here, right? Talking about that's what they do. So what we found out was that the Koreans are now in heavy, I don't want to call it an infestation, but it is a heavy infestation and heavy rotation down in the clerk's office, man. I'm down there one day, going down there to get some business done. One of the ladies called out Kathy. I'm thinking it's going to be a little black lady, a little white lady. Here come a little Korean lady. Barely speak English, man. How they get them jobs? Patronage positions. Politics is supposed to reward your friends and punish your enemies. So if the Koreans were giving money to City Clerk Frank Conaway, and they were, then of course, clearly, City Clerk Frank Conaway was working with them and hiring some of them to work in his office. Now there's an abundance of them working in the office. And you can go to other places in City Hall and you begin to see that now, okay? Used to be a time, man, you get on the bus, only all the bus drivers were black. I got on bus, I seen some Asian bus drivers, right? Almost had a heart attack. You know what I mean? They're an Asian bus driver, right? So realize these positions, right, that our people have that others will be coming for, okay? So you tune to the State of the City. But that's one of the stories that's going on in Baltimore about the water bill. Then we have the death of Mr. Raymond, right? But we see we got this clip about these brothers because we had Mike Miller last week also who said that he's stepping down because he got cancer. Now, I don't know if Mike Miller got cancer or he got pneumonia. You understand? Because he tied to that whole Kathy Pugh scandal. I don't know if he got cancer or he got pneumonia. You know what I mean? We gonna have to find out. They tell me she was at the funeral of Elijah Cummings last week, looking like Roger Rabbit. You know what I mean? They tell me she was at the funeral, man. All right, but he clearly got pneumonia, and whatever is gonna take Kathy down and took Mike Bush down, right? Well, maybe he gonna take Mike Miller down. And now somebody done went and got this. Y'all see the front page, man? For this old gay, this guy's straight gay, man. What's the new Senator, Young Ferguson? And they say Sheila Dixon trained him, man. Now, see, this is a sign of a good black politician. Where are the people that they mentored or was teachers of and prepared so that when they could no longer be on the scene, others would come behind them? Show me the people Sheila Dixon taught and bought, right? I wouldn't want to touch them. Show me the people that Kathy Pugh taught and bought. Wouldn't want to touch them. So now they got Bill Ferguson, Senator Bill Ferguson, man. I think we got Senator Bill Ferguson in Baltimore City. Senator, who's that just beat McFadden? Corey McCray, right? We got Senator Jill Carter, and Ferguson is white, gay. And then we got sister who I respect, even though she black and gay, right? Mary Washington, right? that beat out Joan Carter Conway, or pardon me, Joan Carter Gonway. You know what I mean? Because she gone away, thank goodness. All right? But nevertheless, they told me they gave her a job, I think down City Hall or in Annapolis somewhere. So she back down there. You know what I mean? They told just don't put her over the board of liquors commission, that's for sure. You know, don't put her on that board. If she drink to anything, don't put her on that liquor board. But nevertheless, man, again, Mike Miller's stepping down now, right? And we got Bill Ferguson stepping up. And of course, we'll eventually talk about who, with the elections coming up after the death of Elijah Cummings, and who will, of course, ascend to that seat that is vacant. There will be a special election, I think, February the 4th, right? Then there'll be other elections after that, of course, to take place as well. So, of course, our sister Reba Hawkins was running against Elijah Cummings, and she had already registered to run. But we'll clearly have to see what's the next step now in filling that seat, which didn't belong to him. So I would say to his wife that coronation was just that. I mean, his inauguration was an inauguration. It wasn't a coronation. You know what I mean? To think because he had it, that now it comes to you. It don't work that way. Or it don't twerk that way, to use her language, all right? It don't twerk that way, okay? So, but let me go to this clip. Front page today in the Sun paper also. Officials set to okay $9 million for 5 men wrongfully convicted and imprisoned. And again, as I said before, the reason why this is so important before we go to the clip, this is the time of year that are the civil rights organizations, right? Black majority, then you get the ones like the ACLU, that the civil rights organizations, all those organizations in our community, even the Nation of Islam, claim they work with prisoners. Well, where that list of brothers who are in prison that they can give to the governor and say these are men that should be pardoned during Thanksgiving and during Christmas and toward the end of the year. These are men that are in prison that should have their sentences exonerated, right, after we go through the process like these men did. To work with groups such as Centurion Project, which freed Michael Austin, or to work with groups like, what's the word I'm looking, Innocence Project, so that other brothers that are languishing in prison, right, can be free, and then you give them restorative justice to make those men whole again. Because some of them are coming home, as Brother Clarence Shipley, a Scooter, talked about. They coming home from one prison to another prison, man, because they clearly are not helping those brothers and preparing them. Once they find out they coming home, you got to help them brothers have birth certificate, ID, Social Security, you know, all the things. And then you got to make them whole. You can't, otherwise you're sending them home from one prison to another prison. And the same thing with our sisters. So if our organization say they got a prison ministry, who's going into prison helping those brothers, right? And who's furnishing a list of men and names to the governor and then to the president? I keep saying, it don't do no good for y'all try to impress people to show them you got Mayor Jack Young's phone number or you got the governor's phone number. If you can't help ordinary black people in this city, and when you got brothers like Brother Scooter, we brought him on the State of the City radio show, and I know some of y'all was listening and tuned in. Ain't no other black media bring him on. Brought him and his lawyer on, didn't ask him for a dime. The brother who did give me a donation for bringing him on was Brother Kevin Gaines, who asked me would I bring them on and brought him and the two of us together. So I love that brother and I thank him because Scooter was his childhood friend. And Brother Kevin gave me a $50 donation after the show and said, thank you, brother. But this what we did was you couldn't put a price on that, right? But this will give inspiration to other brothers that if Brother Scooter, Brother Clarence Shipley and others, Walter Lomax and others can get justice, right? And then get compensated, that perhaps other brothers that are languishing in prison, you can be a light for them, man. You can be an example. You can give hope to the hopeless in terms of saying, damn, Scooter made it. Brothers helped him. Sisters helped him. The community helped him. Now will they help me? So this is what we should be doing. That's your army. Then the other sad part is when the census come through, they don't count them brothers as, say, when Brother Scooter went to jail. He went to jail, he was living in Cherry Hill. When the census come through, they don't count him in Cherry Hill. They count him down in Jessup, or they count him down in Hagerstown. So the community out in Hagerstown getting that money, man. They getting the money that you get for, you know, the straw. Y'all know about the straw, man. Your Social Security number. That's why they always want to know. They don't ask you nothing else. What's your Social Security number? When they want to get your children, first thing they want to know, what's your child's school ID number, right? That's how the money's be. In this society, that's how the money's made, man. Okay? So let me see if we got this clip. I think it's courtesy of WBAL talking about the Maryland board okays $9 million for 5 wrongly imprisoned men. That's the key word, wrongly, okay? For some of you be talking about what kind of men we letting out.
18 through 22 are the provisions for those gentlemen who were wrongly convicted of crimes and served time in our state penal system. And so I know that the treasurer had mentioned she wanted to say something about this, but it is, we're bringing this matter to, a just and rightful close. Hopefully the individuals who also needed additional assistance through this process will get the assistance that they need. I know we helped them at one point get into a facility, and so I hope this will help in that whole process. Madam Treasurer.
I'd just like to thank all the staff and the comptroller, the lieutenant governor, the governor, the attorney general's office, everyone who has worked on this project. But more importantly, this payment of several $1 million is, in fact, a very small token of the heartfelt apologies of the state and all of our citizens to 5 people. I notice it says erroneously convicted. That's very antiseptic. These are men who spent thousands of days, thousands of mornings, one of them almost 50 years in prison, for the most part because of not only that were they innocent of crime,
that's right,
but others worked to get them where they did not belong. And there's no way, I believe, that we can sufficiently apologize or that we can believe that an amount of money can make up for a person's life. So I just want to thank those men, acknowledge the sacrifice that they made, hope that they understand that this is their community's way of recognizing that not only were they innocent, but they were terribly, terribly wronged.
We can bring it down right there. Of course, we know about this. Welcome back. You listen to the State of the City. That was
in addition, I'd like to point out
Treasurer Nancy Kopp. You heard, I think the initial voice you heard was Lieutenant Governor Boyd Rutherford, and then State Treasurer Nancy Kopp. The names of these brothers, of course, you have Jerome Johnson, Lamar Johnson, Brother Walter Lomax, Brother Clarence Shipley, who's Brother Scooter, and Herbert James Williams, who I understand was a homeless veteran, right? So we know about the Central Park 5, but if I ask you who's the Baltimore 5, you better know Jerome Johnson, Lamar Johnson, Walter Lomax, Clarence Shipley, and Herbert James Williams, all right? Because, you seen Oprah, Ava DuVernay, and all them talking about the Central Park 5, right? So they could play all that up and direct the energy toward Trump. No, we talking about Baltimore 5. Charity, clarity, parity begins at home, okay? So, again, etch that into your brain. Walter Lomax, again, Clarence Shipley, Jerome Johnson, Lamar Johnson, and Herbert Williams. Baltimore's 5 in terms of these men. And now, of course, we wish them the best. We wish their families the best. But at the same time, they're already giving back and giving hope to the hopeless in terms of other brothers, as Brother Clarence Shipley shared with me, brothers that are locked away and locked down, listening to the State of the City, and it gives them hope that you got brothers who have not forgotten about them, sisters on the outside that have not forgotten about them. So I got to thank, of course, Brother Clarence Shipley, his wife, who I met in the studio, being right there, off times, of course, being that second self and following necessary paperwork, doing the footwork to help those brothers that are still locked up and locked behind bars. So, again, that's good news, and we got to share that good news, man, because, again, black media can't fail. And as I said to them brothers, outside the State of the City, I don't know, in Radio on Fire, if them brothers got to tell their story. I know I interviewed Walter Lomax many times, and I interviewed the brothers that are with the lifers in terms of the brothers that came home through the Unger Law. But I don't know how much one of the brothers who was a member of the Black Panther Party Marshal Eddie Conaway is continuing to help and fight for those brothers. He could be. I just haven't seen him. I know he's down there working with the Real News Network. Now, they spell real with 2 E's, more so than EAL. I don't know. All right? They might keep it on the real, and Al Sharpton say, keep it real, keep it real. They keep it on the real, but not keeping it real. If you understand what I'm saying. All right? So, again, you're tuned to the State of the City, but that's good news, and I'm going to hopefully have those brothers, if I can't get them over here on Radio on Fire, have them back on the State of the City with their attorney. See what's next now for those brothers, but also, of course, those who are still locked up and locked down. And as I said before, if the state's attorney who helped them, right, to a limited degree, but she knows there are others, brothers and sisters that are still locked up behind bars. So don't let it be left on President Donald Trump, a Republican, a white man, that have to, again, pardon or commutate sentences of brothers and sisters that are locked down. Don't let it be left on Trump alone. That you got those that should be putting up or shutting up, right? NAACP, Urban League, other groups that claim that that's what they do, work with those who are locked away and locked down, and churches as well. So let's see if your ministers who are running around co-signing for Mayor Jack Young, running around here crying crocodile tears for Elijah Cummings, tell them we got a whole bunch of Elijahs, Elijah, and Elishas that's locked down and locked up that they could be putting their mouth to work to help. You know what I mean? So you tuned to the State of the City. Wanted to make sure I put that out there. And maybe some other Baltimore stories I missed. But I want to talk about and move quickly now, as I saw stories about these California, before I come to Chairman Fred and come to this Harriet Tubman movie. I want to talk about that. But these California wildfires, got to watch it because, see, the Muslim Elijah Muhammad said to one of his star students at that time, Malcolm X, of all of our studies, history is best qualified to reward our research. And I say that because if you study what was, then you'll know what is and you'll know what will be. Because there's nothing new under the sun, as Solomon said. So these California wildfires, which they've been saying is tied to, of course, the wind and branches and all that. No. Go back and study the fires of 1904. They had a great fire in Baltimore City in 1904. Baltimore, I think in San Francisco was 1903, right? To Chicago, great fire, right? All of it follows the railroad routes, man. So it's always throughout history when you had like B&O Railroad, the people that owned that, right? They were fighting the other group that wanted to bring in some other kind of transportation, right? So they start a fire. So once you start the fire, you can have what's called a scorched earth. You're destroying all the land. It's called deconstruction for reconstruction. When you bring it up to date and go back and look at, and I remember talking to the late Baba D. Gregory, the sage, my teacher, and we talking about the Rodney King verdict and how the plan had already been made that area that was burnt out in Los Angeles, that just happened to be burned during the quote-unquote 1992 riots. Now, all those black men went missing. You can read about it. I won't pull up the article, but we would always reference New York Times, International New York Times. May the 10th, right? 1992. You can go pull up the article. But they talked about how there was a discrepancy between the police and the state's attorney or the AG out there. That they said that they arrested 10,000, but the AG said we had 18,000 according to our numbers. So essentially what they were saying, they were only accounted for 8,000 and some change. There was still 10,000 men missing, right? Some of y'all heard this story, and Dick Gregory said they traced those men to Coast Guard Hospital in Gooseneck, Oregon, man, where they would take them and say they was going to train them to fight forest fires, right? Black and brown men that went missing, man. You can pull the article, New York Times. I'm not lying to you. Well, as he always told me, my truth ain't got to be validated by your ignorance anyway, okay? But they said that they were take their organs from them, man, okay? So I say all that to say that there was always something, an undertone, right? Or another agenda being laid out and played out on the people in Los Angeles unbeknownst to them. And most of the Korean businesses that were burned because they were already cut the deal with the Koreans. They was going to get the insurance, but they was going to run the new subway system through that whole part over there. And when you go back and really do the research on what was the real cause of the uprisings and the revolts and the rebellions in Los Angeles in 1992, wasn't the beating of Rodney King, but it was the killing of and the shooting of little 16-year-old Latasha Harlan, who was shot in the back of the head by the Korean grocer. I think her name was Dooku. I want to say Dooku or Buku, something like that. But the little girl, she accused the little girl of stealing some orange juice. The little girl took the orange juice, sat it on the counter. After the lady grabbed her by her hood, the little girl pulled it away from the lady, sat the orange juice on the counter, and she's walking away. The lady reached behind the cash register, underneath the register, pulled out a gun and shot the little girl in the back of the head. And that woman, I don't think she did 2 years in jail, man, if that. So that was the real reason. But most people try to make our people think it was because of Rodney King, okay? And nothing could be further from the truth. You don't believe me? Go check it out, man. Go check it out, okay? So now the California wildfires, the awakened ones are saying that that's part. Now PG&E, for those that don't know, we got BG&E here. They got PG&E on the West Coast. Check out who's the biggest shareholder of PG&E. Warren Buffett, the Oracle of Omaha. Okay, now Warren Buffett just happened to own the largest railroad companies out there on the West Coast. Okay, now if you don't believe me, check it out. What's it called? BRSN or BSN? Check out who owns them railroad cars. Warren Buffett. Okay, so now their plan is to run a high-speed railway from California to Alaska. And if you remember, many of our scholars, such as Ivan Van Sertima, who wrote the book They Came Before Columbus, would always say that Africans could walk right across the Bering Strait into Alaska, right? So now the plan is to run a high-speed rail. You can pull up the article, but again, my truth don't have to be validated by your ignorance. But the plan is to run a high-speed rail from California up to Alaska. Then they're going to connect it to the Bering Strait, and they'll be able to go right into China. Okay? So now all the plans had already been laid out, man, as far back as 2005, 2006, up to 2009. But all this ties into UN Agenda 2030, UN Agenda 21. When you look at those fires that are taking place out there. Now, if PG&E was the culprits of the fire, how come the governor out there, what's his name, Newsom? And before that it was Brown?
Yeah.
How come ain't none of them corporate thugs been arrested and charged, right? At all. Right? None of them, right? And all those people died, 80-something people died, all the homes destroyed and everything, right? But all they doing is clearing the earth. And when you go back, see, what happened is, the same ones that would come in years ago and buy up the railroads, this is how the Rockefellers would do it. The same time they bought up the railroad companies, guess what else they would buy up? You know, they say the first thing you want to control when you come into people territory or country, first thing you control is communication, right?
Yeah.
They would buy up the newspapers, because who's going to write about it? The newspapers. So they would buy up the newspaper companies, right? So nobody can alert the people about what's really going on. So this is what's going on right now. So if you pull up and just Google high-speed rail system in California, okay? That will at least give you a start of what this is really about that's going on out there in California right now. Now, I'm just saying, don't limit it to California, because they can do the same thing. If it's not about the high-speed railway, it could be about the new energy pipelines that's running through the country. So as I told you before about Bill Cosby, when they wanted Cosby, that was all about Kinder Morgan Energy Company that wanted Bill Cosby's land, okay? That's all it's ever been about. Wasn't about no booty. Let's be clear about that. Wasn't about getting no poo-tang for no white woman, okay? But it was all about getting that land. And now because Cosby's in jail, if they off him or kill him in jail, the only ones left that's standing in their way is, what's his wife's name? Camille Cosby?
Camille.
Because the land trust is in his name and her name. So it was always about, it's called the Northeast Direct. You can Google the article. Kinder Morgan Energy wants Bill Cosby's land. Okay? That's all it's ever been about. Part of it years ago was about when he was wanting to buy NBC. Then he came back, wanted to look at Discover a few years ago, as Dick Gregory shared with me. But he always said it was about the land that Bill Cosby owned, that they wanted to run the pipeline and realized that he had oil underneath the land. Okay? Not the oil that most of us think about, but we're talking about with the new they call that the shale. What do you call it? Shale oil. The shale oil. That's the new one that they moving on now. They said Pennsylvania is the new oil boom, potentially the new oil boom in the country, if not on the planet, in the Atlantic. But most people don't even know that. Okay, so that's part of the UN agenda. That's part of the big energy that's going down inside of America. Future energy deals is going on inside of the country that's not being talked about. But Buffett, if it was anybody probably second to Soros that's more evil than the devil, it's Warren Buffett and George Soros, okay? Warren Buffett and George, look, Warren Buffett tied to Kinder Morgan, the same ones that want that land from Bill Cosby. That's Warren Buffett, man. So again, Berkshire Hathaway, take all around here foreclosing on all your homes, man. Berkshire Hathaway, that's the name of his company, right? One of them, right? Berkshire Hathaway, man. So again, just wanted to make sure I got that out there because I keep hearing so much talk about these California wildfires, man. But nobody's really, I think, showing what's the bigger picture. And then some have said it could have been the use of what they call them, DEWs, direct energy weapons, called DEW, D-E-W, direct energy weapons being used as well. Now, that's possible. But as I said before, when you look at the path, it's being talked about in some circles that it's on the path, direct path of where this, high-speed rail will be running from California all the way up to Alaska as well. So you tune to the State of the City. Want to move quickly now because they got this new movie coming out this Friday. I want to talk about that before I talk about Brother Chairman Fred Hampton, Senior Minister of Defense Mark Clark, and this movie that Ryan Coogler is filming, and I think he's there in Chicago. As I talked to Chairman Fred yesterday, I know there's been some times where they try to just wanted to shut it down for his conversation. Can't give all of it to you because he didn't say I could share all of it with you publicly, right? But I say that to say we coming up on the anniversary of the death and the assassination of his father. Wasn't no shootout. It was a shoot-in. Okay, let's be clear about that. Why? See, we gotta, as we always say, protect our legacies, respect our legacies, never ever neglect our legacies, because legacies are more important than we are. So don't let the enemy define our struggle and define, right, what happened in terms of telling the narrative. Wasn't a shootout, it was a shoot-in. And the only ones that were shooting was the Chicago police, right, and the FBI and their agents that were there, right? And of course, Chairman Fred being an organizer. He came out of the NAACP organizing the youth and then joined on to the Black Panther Party. And so he started a group called the Rainbow. So as I said to Chairman, let's be clear that when we talking about Rainbow then, they ain't talking about the LGBTQZ Rainbow. So you got to watch it because they'll try to, in a movie, try to put that in the minds of our people. Not you who are awakened, but to the masses and then to the next generation. So once they assassinated Chairman Fred, then who pops up in Chicago start talking about Rainbow Push? Prior to that, it was called Operation Breadbasket, not Operation Push. So it became Rainbow Push. That was Jesse Jackson, the Ford Foundation agent, for those of you that don't know about Jesse Jackson. So watch Jesse as well during this time, okay? All right? Because two forces can't occupy the same space and place when you understand that, okay? If one goes up, one got to come down. One comes down, one has to go up. So when they assassinate a king, who goes up? Jesse. So watch that now, okay? So now, Chairman, as I was saying to Chairman Fred, of course, when you look at the new trend, because this ties right into what we saw with the movie Selma. See, what they're doing is rewriting history. They're making biopics like they're doing on the Lifetime movie channel, right? It's what they're doing is rewriting our history with people who don't come out of our struggle. They're using British and foreign actors. They're using Nigerians. You can't go to Nigeria, have a black man from America, even though he's of African descent, playing a Nigerian like, what was the guy, Fela? They not going to take a black, I don't care how popular you think Denzel, Will Smith, Eddie Murphy, anybody, They not playing Fela, man. They not gonna let them play that. That's all. But they gonna take some British actors like this guy from Get Out. What's his name? Daniel Kool-Aid, right? Daniel Kool-Aid. And they want him to play Chairman Fred Hampton, man. Now, I can't make that decision. That's up to the family of Chairman Fred Hampton in terms of if they green light it. That's all. But they've been coming for some time now, as he knows and I know and we know. And so I appreciate him reaching out to me. But again, the movie, you can Google it. The movie is supposed to be entitled Jesus Was My Homeboy. And I got to thank one of the brothers who lives in London who sent the information to me, right? But when I Google it, there were two titles. Jesus Was My Homeboy. Then the other one is entitled Judas and the Black Messiah. The Judas was William O'Neill. The Black Messiah was Chairman Fred Hampton Sr., right? So we'll see what comes of that. But I'm hoping that Chairman Fred, his mother, of course, Mama and Jury, have had their lawyers go through what's in that script, look at that script thoroughly, right? To make sure that there's nothing that will defame the name or the image of Chairman Fred Hampton Sr. or same thing with the family of Mark Clark. But when I read just in Wikipedia and read the article that's on my page, right, I posted it, they were saying that Chairman Fred Hampton Sr. was a civil rights leader, and nothing could be further from the truth. We know he wasn't no civil rights leader. He came out of Black Power and Black Nationalist movement, right? He said, I am a revolutionary. He ain't say, I am a civil rights leader. So what we're seeing, though, as I shared with Chairman Fred and others, what they're doing is trying to rewrite our history. And so we saw that in Selma when they took the guy, David Awawua, whatever his name, right? Then they took the young lady. David Awawua, the one who played he was in Planet of the Apes, the new one, right? He was in that movie, right? So they took him, and then they took the young lady. He plays Dr. King, and the other young lady who's from Britain, she plays Coretta Scott King. Now, they don't come out of our struggle. They don't know about, of course, it's kind of like our brother Raheem Devon said, until you walk these shoes and pay these dues, you don't know our struggle like that, man, right? So now they're trying to do the same thing, right? With Chairman Fred, Mark Clark. Now, Friday, right? They got the Harriet Tubman movie coming out. The young lady that plays Harriet Tubman is from Nigeria, right? Now, clearly, when you look at it, it's again more predictive programming, and they're hijacking. They call that cultural misappropriation, right? In terms of you can't go to India and have a Pakistani playing an Indian. Them Indians would be riding in the theater, man. They might tear the theater down. You know what I mean? So they're gonna take a sister from Nigeria, even though she's of African descent, but she don't know the struggle of Harriet Tubman, man. And at a time that Harriet Tubman's home, you can Google it. And right now they trying to fight to save Harriet Tubman's home up in Mount Vernon, New York. They not talking about they're gonna save the home of Harriet Tubman, man. So what they're essentially doing is wiping out the legacy on camera and then eventually off camera, because it ain't tied to saving the home of Harriet Tubman, right? And at the time that Chairman Fred Hampton Jr. and his mother and others in Chicago are talking about saving the home of Chairman Fred Hampton Sr., I'd be curious to see if Kugler, Warner Brothers, and others will do just that to help them. Now, let's get into it just a little of this Harriet Tubman movie, because it comes out on Friday, right? But then I saw she got to look at the stars, the co-stars. And sometimes you got to go look at what roles in other movies were they in, because none of this is a coincidence at all, man. So you get Cynthia Enviro, I think was her name. And they said that she got a backlash on Twitter, and the person that was leading the backlash the most, I got to give him a little credit, was Tariq Nasheed, all right? But he was talking about Cynthia Enviro and the other lesbians that she was rolling with in previous movies, right? Had some negative things to say about blacks in America, and they start getting caught up in IDOS versus this group. You know what I mean? They say ADOS, American descendants of slaves or something like that is what they were saying, right? Now, I don't know how you an American, as Malcolm said, just because you're born in America don't make you an American, all right? You are still under captivity. You're still an African in captivity. I know some of y'all think you're African, right? Instead of nationalist, you think you're rationalist, okay? But as Malcolm said, you could take a German Shepherd out of Germany and put a German Shepherd in the oven, and that German Shepherd can be pregnant. That German Shepherd's still going to have German Shepherds. Ain't going to be biscuits, right? So you an African that's going to be taken out of Africa, the blood of Africa still runs through your veins. You can deny it if you want. Just because you might be of different complexions and different hues, you still have the blood of Africa running through your veins, okay? The DNA of Africa, and you ain't got to get it from Henry Louis Gates or any of them other frauds that be charging you. What they charging? $99.99. What they charging you? $5.99 to tell you what's in your DNA. Are you crazy, man? Are you crazy? So I won't get caught all into that whole fight that, because Tariq Nasheed go off on a whole nother, those that want to fight that, talking about whether you are this, ados, and I just say adios, man. Because when the reparation come out, they going to be asking you whether you're a descendant. You say it as if that means slavery was something natural, man. Slavery was not a part of our history, as I read, but it was an interruption of our history, okay? You don't see the Jews walking around talking about the children of the Holocaust. They say they were children who were victims of the Holocaust, okay? You embracing that ADOS, American descendants of slavery, as if slavery was a nationality or something. You know what I mean? So you clearly need a checkup from the neck up. If it don't apply, let it fly, okay? All right? No, you were people who were enslaved, okay? Slavery was not natural to the planet, not natural to the human being, okay? So this is what we see now. So as we're looking at this Harriet Tubman movie, we see most of the stars, co-stars like Janelle Monáe, who just came out the closet, who says she a pansexual, right? She ain't big as a frying pan, much less talking about a pansexual, all right? But all of that is to target our young people. So watch it now. When you see this Harriet Tubman movie, for those that want to go see it. But keep that third eye open when you go see it. What are the hidden messages? Because Janelle Monáe would always wear the black and white, which was dealing with the duality. If you go to my page, I posted the picture. That's that Freemasonic symbolism, okay? That you see the duality, the polarity that's there, the black and white. That's on the floor. And most Masonic, if you ever watch the movie and you see that black and white floor, those are Masonic symbols that they laying out in front of you in the movie, or secrets hidden right there in plain sight. With Janelle Monáe, when she was brought on the scene, that's all she wore all the time. And then when they asked her why, she said something about her parents worked at some factory and they all wore uniforms. She said, no, that ain't what we ask you. You ain't wearing a uniform. Why are you always wearing black and white? She was denoting a message, a coded message to those who had their eyes open, right? And to those who were her handlers, right? So now she just came full circle with it. So prior to that, this Tubman movie, she was just in, what was the other movie she was in? It'll come to me in a minute. She was in another old LGBTQ movie, man. Before she was in that. I want to say she was in, what was that movie she was in? Moonlight? Or she was in Moonlight, or the other boy that they want to put in, they using these same pieces in the same different movie. And Moonlight wasn't about nothing but pedophilia. You know that, right? Before Moonlight, the year before that, the movie of the year was Spotlight. Then the next year was Moonlight. So the interesting thing that the boy that they want to put in the movie, in the Black Panther movie, his name escapes me. He was the little boy that played in Moonlight.
Yeah, she was in Moonlight.
She was in Moonlight also, right? Pushing pedophilia on our people, right? So it's no coincidence these people are in these same movies, man. They use them as that. That's all. To convey a message, right? One role or one act leads into the next act is all I'm saying, okay? So now, as I was looking at my notes about this Harriet Tubman, I had something else I wanted to add to you. Oh, the producers was Comcast and Universal. And when you look at who the real distributors were, now they tried to say it was a black woman by the name, what's her name? Cassie Lemon? But it really is, what's that? Comcast has a like an entity that they use to do what they call quote unquote independent film. What's it called? Freedom Focus or Focus Film? Focus Films, right? So they're the ones that really green lighted this under Comcast Universal. And when I started looking at who was really doing the Black Panther movie about Chairman Fred, the guy came from WMEIMG. Kevin Charles King, I think is his name, right? That's the one I saw that's really the one that's behind that in terms of being the writer. But again, the lead actor, Cynthia, and Harriet Tubman, is Cynthia, how you pronounce that, Ervirios? And again, she was in, now her leading role that she came out in was The Color Purple, Broadway, right? And you know, that means she played what in Color Purple, right? That wasn't nothing but feminism, lesbianism, and everything else, right? That's why she was playing The Color Purple, right? And most of the actors that's in either, I think it was Harriet Tubman I was reading, most of them are alumni from the Broadway show Hamilton, right? For those that don't know. Now, this is in the article. So I just wanted to make sure that I shared that with you because the movie opens up nationwide. But it is a biopic about Harriet Tubman, which means they will essentially be rewriting history of Harriet Tubman, not really telling the real history of Harriet Tubman, but it will clearly have a slant, right, toward pushing this whole LGBTQ agenda on our unsuspecting young people and the masses of our people as well. Now, some people say they're going to go see it. I had some people saying to me, I said, we're going to go see it. We can have some discussion afterwards. You know what I mean? But I'm not just going to go see no movie and we don't have no discussion about it, you know? But clearly, they're now using British actors. This is the new trend, man. But it started, I think, with the Selma movie that Oprah Winfrey and Ava DuVernay did, right? Selma, which they are using British or foreign actors, right? Most of them are British or they come from British colonies. These girls, she just happened to come from Nigeria, right? Daniel, what's his name? The one played in Get Out, Kool-Aid. I think he's from Nigeria also. So this is the new thing, is they're using British actors to again try to play our history or sell our history to us as a people. Now I don't think you can go over Britain and have a black man from America playing whatever the big British, you know what I mean, Nigerians who were voted against the British. If they doing a movie about Jomo Kenyatta, they ain't gonna have Denzel Washington. So, but I think they clearly don't want any actor that comes out of our history that can give a spark to our people with these movies on screen. You understand? The last one they did like that was Denzel and Malcolm X, right? I think they clearly said after that, they said that would never happen again. It was a good movie, but it gave a spark to a lot of our people, right? Because they wanted to use that movie, I think, to direct the energy toward Minister Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam, right? By saying the Nation of Islam killed Malcolm. And when you go back and look at it, it was around the same time that they had planned that conspiracy with Quibila Shabazz and the Jewish guy who they said she hired to kill Minister Farrakhan. You remember all that was going on around that time? And then Minister Farrakhan and Mother Betty Shabazz got together at the Apollo Theater, right? Had the big sit down, right? Mended that so the enemy realized that they couldn't use Betty Shabazz again. So guess what happened with Betty Shabazz? They came back and they killed her. And they blamed her grandson. And that's the worst crime you could do, is put on that young brother's mind that he killed his grandmother, right? And it was only when Dick Gregory had talked about it, we talked about it, he heard it and said everything that Dick Gregory said was right. That night, when they grabbed him and 4 white men went in the house and killed Betty Shabazz, and the white woman grabbed little Malcolm, he was outside in his underwear, right? They took little Malcolm and put him in like juvenile services till he was 18 years old. We don't know what they did to him while they had him locked up, right? But the person that Dick Gregory was saying that was tied to it was Percy Sutton, who they gave most of Harlem, right? They made him like the godfather of Harlem after they killed Malcolm X. And Percy Sutton was a Boulay member. He was acting as the attorney for Malcolm X. So Malcolm, being as thorough as he was, did not know that Percy Sutton was in fact acting as a government agent. And what's the other guy named? Alex Haley? He was naval intelligence, man, who also was acting as a government agent, collecting intel on Malcolm, taking it back to the government. You understand? The producer, yeah. He didn't even write Roots, as Dick Gregory shared with me, and I did the research as he told me. The Roots was based on a story written by a white man, Maury Fisher, right? Maury Fisher was the publisher at Playboy magazine, man. And what was the other big magazine? A little small book that our people used to back in the '60s. The people would read, man. Reader's Digest. Maury Fisher wrote for them. Maury Fisher wrote the book. And he wrote the book with a guy named Kalodner wrote the book called The African, right? The guy sued Alex Haley, and it went to court, right? And the judge said Alex Haley didn't even change word for word. He wrote everything down that the guy wrote in the book, right? And Alex Haley had to pay, man. You know what I mean? Had to pay this guy. You can pull up it's in New York in the court. But Alex Haley was in fact naval intelligence, man, that was taking information back. But Maury Fisher wrote, what I was trying to say was Maury Fisher actually wrote the autobiography of Malcolm X. That wasn't even written by Alex Haley. Did you know that? I did not. Yeah, Jewish guy wrote that, man. So, but that's why they never get no credit. When Haley died, they had him dying in like 4 different places that day, right? I remember because I called Dick Gregory. Said, he can't be dead. They got him dying in more places than, what's the guy they claimed they killed last week in Syria? Abu Bakr. It's about the 7th time they killed him. They done killed him more than Bin Laden. I wait for them to say they dumped him in the sea like they did Bin Laden. Said give him a prayer like they did. What Transformer movie was that? Transformer 2? When they dropped, what was his name? Megatron or whatever? What was his name? The one they dropped in the ocean. What was his name? Optimus Prime? Yeah, what was the one they dropped in the ocean? Oh, Megatron dropped him in the ocean. And then they said they did that with Bin Laden, right? Said, man, this is a script right out. Who writing them scripts, man? Ryan Coogler? Who writing them scripts? You know what I mean? This administration ain't dropping in the ocean. No, they didn't drop. Obama and them said they dropped Osama in the ocean, right? Right. So now, this is about the 7th, 8th time, as my brother David Johnson said, that they said they killed this guy, man. But I've been reading that he's living over in Europe. Osama could be living over in Europe, man. So, again, but they might have cut their money off. But right after they said they killed him, they killed John, what's his name, John Conyers? So that might have been some of that money coming back to Detroit. You know what I mean? Or as I move quickly before we open up the lines, or is this tied to that impeachment? Because I saw in the Washington Times where they said that normally when you're going to impeach a president, John Conyers that came around and became the congressman right as Nixon, before Nixon got impeached. So the Judiciary Committee handled the impeachment and the investigation, right? But Nancy Pelosi and her handlers, this was in the Washington Times today, the 2 committees that's supposed to be investigating it is the Oversight Committee, right? Right? Now guess who was over the Oversight Committee? He did. Come on. Who was over the Oversight Committee? Cummings, he did. Now, guess who just happened to have been over the Judiciary Committee before they moved him out? Conyers, right? You know that, right? And then they put the fat boy from New York, Nadler, over there, right? You remember Nadler got sick a couple of months ago? He's not fat no more. Well, that's probably why he got sick and fainted, right? You remember that? He fainted? Yeah. He better watch his back. So now Pelosi said she's not giving it to Nadler. No. So she's perverting the whole process, right? Because it's supposed to go through the Judiciary Committee. Then it's supposed to be three committees that have the oversight. Since they claim it happened overseas, then that's foreign affairs. She says she's not even having the foreign affairs person handle it. She's just giving it to intelligence. So 2 of the 3 committees, she's not even let see what information they claim they had. So this is very dangerous in terms of where they're going with this. And it's all being done in secret.
But they don't have a special prosecutor.
Well, they don't have a special
Congress
prosecutor.
Is doing it, so they can do this.
But she can't go around the process. So this is going to be the dangerous thing that's being laid out and played out.
You mean for
her? For her. More bodies going to be dropping. That's all I'm saying. More bodies will be dropping when we see what's going on inside of Washington, D.C. As I said before, I don't have a dog in the fight, but I'm just observing and seeing what's being done and what's not being done and what's being said and what's not being said. But the Washington Times, I think I read, the Washington Examiner had the article in the paper today talking about the whole process and how the process, for the most part, let me see if I've got the headline of the process. Here's the one talking about the movie, Charles King Macro Inc.'s first look deal with Warner Brothers. Charles King is the one who came from WME-IMG. And then he set up, he comes out of Howard University and started Macro. But he inked this deal with Warner Brothers in February of this year to do these quote-unquote independent-style movies for the most part. The money got to come from who? Warner Brothers, right? So here's the Washington Examiner. House impeachment strategy silences Trump's staunchest defenders. So when you read this article, it kind of lays out, as I've been saying, regarding Pelosi. So I definitely wanted to put that out there as well. So I think with that, we'll open up the lines. But they got this movie coming out. I didn't mention that, Queen and Slim, right? You got that trailer to that movie? See if we can find that trailer. I want to play that because it looks eerily similar to Chairman Fred. Now, this same person, Daniel Kaluuya, or Daniel Kool-Aid, is the same one that's going to play Chairman Fred Hampton Sr. But the movie, you'll see depictions of the Black Panther members in this movie as well. That's coming out, I think, next week is when this movie comes out. So all this is what we call predictive programming. One leads to the next. One leads into the next in terms of these movies that they're rolling out on our people right now. So if we got that clip, the trailer, we'll play that. And then I also want to play, we got the Harriet Tubman trailer. I want the family to see that Harriet Tubman trailer as well. Because you see the symbolism when she put that one eye down. See, that's that whole sign symbol numerology. It's the one eye. She's letting you see that. That's a coded message. It ain't for you. That's for others who understand what they're saying out there, okay? All right? But we got that clip. I think this was called, what's it called? Queen and Slim? Or Slim and Queen? Queen and Slim. All right, we'll play that clip and we're going to come back.
Can I ask you
something?
Go
a little deep in the show.
What took you so long to respond to me? I sent you a very well-crafted message 3 weeks ago. And today, out of the blue, you hit me up asking if you want to grab dinner. What changed?
I didn't feel like being alone.
Well, they
Not
said
tonight.
So you turned to Tinder. So what happens tonight?
Did you think we were gonna have sex?
Nah, look at you. No, I thought we were gonna hang out, maybe get to know each other.
Failed to execute a turn signal back there. Go ahead and ask you to step out of the vehicle for me.
Could you please hurry up?
What did you say?
It's just cold.
Get on the ground! Keep your hands where I can see
Why is he under arrest?
What
is your badge number?
Chill, just chill!
I'm reaching for my cell phone! Now let's go.
Whether you're a brother or whether you're a mother, you stay.
Cop killers! Cop killers!
It was self-defense.
We're in the Black Bonnie and Clyde.
Feel the city breaking and everybody shaking up.
How you gonna outrun the police?
We don't have to outrun them. We just have to make sure they don't know where we are.
This is Kentucky, my friend.
There's a war going on out there, and you welcome this into our home?
Is this y'all?
Y'all really gave us something to believe in. We needed that for real.
But it froze?
Real.
Let them go!
I got them Black Panthers. Power to the people.
All we can do is go forward. There is nothing back there for us. Let's just keep going.
What if God wanted me to die and I messed up his plan?
I don't think that's what he wanted.
How you know?
I just think you were meant to be here. I'm scared.
That's all right. I'll be brave enough for the both of us. I'm taking you dancing. Let's go.
You're willing to risk getting caught so we can dance?
Hell yeah.
Don't worry, you're safe here.
I just want to let you know that I'm okay and that I love you.
I want a guy to show me myself. I want him to love me so deeply. I'm not afraid to show him how ugly I can be. Thank you for bringing us this far. Thank you for this journey.
Police!
No matter how it ends. What do you want?
I want to ride or die.
Can I be your legacy?
You already are.
And that was for Queen and Slim, right? All right, let's go quickly to the Harriet Tubman before we begin to open up the lines. We'll go to Harriet Tubman, and I think it's called Harriet Tubman, or it's called, what's it called? Is it called Get Free also? Or Die Trying? Is that what that's called?
Like a subtitle?
Yeah, I think that's what it's called.
I think it's called Harriet, man.
Yeah. All right, but let's go to that clip. And
this is the family who wanted to connect
that's a little
and find
infomercial.
Inspiration in new places.
That infomercial
leading them
leads
to
to some,
discover.
and them infomercial leads to some, right? Some revenues. Get that infomercial. Focus features, right? That's Comcast and Universal. Saw that.
You got to be miles away from here for dawn. Where is she? Follow that North Star. If there are no stars, just follow the river. Listen for them. Fear is your enemy. Whoa. Easy now.
I'm gonna be free or die.
Live free or die. That's what it's called.
I don't know if you know how extraordinary
that's
this is,
symbolism,
but
right?
you have
Get
made
free
it
or die
100
trying.
miles to freedom all by yourself. Would you like to pick a new name to mark your freedom?
Harriet Tubman. You are welcome here anytime. If I'm free, my family should be too. I made up my mind, I'm going back. You're confident, composed. When trouble comes,
Get the black and white.
you'll be ready.
See the black and white she had on?
Papers. Says here you're 5.5 feet tall.
always
You
gotta
ain't more
look
than
at all
5 feet.
Must have won my high boots that day.
Why you back here? It ain't safe.
I come to get you. Bring all of you to freedom.
Do you know what would happen if you got caught? You got lucky, Harriet.
I made it this far on my own, so don't you tell me what I can't do.
Harriet, welcome to the Underground Railroad. Everybody, everywhere is looking for you.
God don't mean people to own people.
Find this thief and burn her at the stake.
I would give every last drop of blood in my veins until this monster called slavery is dead. Ready?
Be free or die. So again, those are the trailers for Queen and Slim, and this one for Harriet Tubman. And when I was reading what these articles were saying, they were trying to say that Harriet Tubman was about resistance, and nothing could be further from the truth. Harriet Tubman was about the liberation of her people, right? See, already they begin to change the conversation or diminish what Harriet Tubman was about, right? Now, when they say resistance, you know who they're using that toward, right? Again, Trump, because it was the ADL that came up with that whole hashtag called resist and resistance. Most people don't know that, but it was the Jews doing that. Now, be careful, as I keep telling y'all. Don't let them use you for some other agenda that they want to push, all right? But I think what I'll do now, open up the lines. If you got a thought, question, comment. Oh, the other story I didn't hit on, University of Maryland police officer, Raymond, what's his name, Raymond Gray? Yep. $8 million, we got that story? Baltimore City police shot one of their own. He was a University of Maryland officer in training. Now, the training was supposed to be at their academy down on Northern Parkway and Park Heights. Somehow they took officers out to what used to be, what was that called, Rosewood Center, which was for handicapped, blind, right, disabled, right? They shuttered those doors under Martin O'Malley, kicked them out. Now, check this out. Members of the Jewish community, that's in their community out there in Owings Mills. They always say if you save, they say a Hebrew proverb, if you save one soul is if you save the whole world. They closed the door on all them children and adults that had handicaps and disabilities in their community, right? And now I think they took that property, and I think it's going to be one of them Shoshana schools or something like that, right? Kicked all them people out there with Martin O'Malley, who was the governor at that time. So when they talk about the fact you got all these people walking around in the city of Baltimore, strung out, hung out with their tongue out, some that should be in mental institutions, let's be clear, it was Martin O'Malley that closed the doors of a lot of these mental institutions, from Walter P. Carter, which was right downtown by the University of Maryland. You go down there now, it's a parking lot that belongs to the University of Maryland. So you look at all these people walking in the streets in Baltimore City and Baltimore County, and they don't have a place to go, and they're dealing with some serious psychological issues and need to be, right, institutionalized to help them deal with that and cope with that. It's because of Martin O'Malley, Democratic Party. Let's be clear, crystal clear about that. But let's go to the clip, because Mr. Raymond was shot, blind in one eye, right? Lost that sight, will need around-the-clock medical attention for the rest of his life. He's shot by a Baltimore City sergeant or upper commander who was supposed to have a red, what do you call him, a paint gun? And he didn't have the paint gun. He pulled out his revolver and shot him, right? And they covered this thing up big time. He wasn't supposed to have been the only one arrested and charged. Whoever okayed that training should have been arrested and charged, right? And then the city fought Mr. Raymond and his attorney, who was attorney A. Dwight Pettit. Imagine that. If you're a cop and you can't get justice, what does that say to the ordinary citizen in the city of Baltimore? He was a cop in training with Baltimore City, even though he was a University of Maryland police officer. And yet you ain't never see the president of the University of Maryland say anything about this. All them board members that was on the board of the University of Maryland with the Healthy Holly scandal, they ain't never opened up their goddamn mouth about what happened to this one black police officer who was a University of Maryland employee. Now that's the sad part. Kathy Pugh, Mike Miller, Mike Bush, ain't Elijah Cummings ain't never opened his mouth up about why would this lawyer, Dwight Pettit, have to fight them to get justice for a police officer? Isn't that something? And now, after this went to appeals court, the court said that they owe this man $8 million. Now, the question is whether Jack Young and the city solicitor going to put up the money, man. Because they've been fighting him all this time, and ain't no record of Jack speaking up for this officer while he was on the council or while he was the city council president. There's no record, Jack. So you just owe Jack a lantern. That's about it. Let's go to that clip now.
Shot in the face during a training exercise, and now years later, he's going to receive a multi-million-dollar settlement. WJZ is live tonight. Paul Gessler with how much the city will now have to pay Raymond Gray. Paul.
It's one of the largest settlements, Rick, in the city's history. The city's Board of Estimates here at City Hall this morning approved an $8 million settlement after a training officer accidentally shot Gray in 2013. These are the moments after Raymond Gray was shot in 2013 at a training exercise in Owings Mills. Gray, a University of Maryland police recruit, was shot in the face by a BPD training officer. That officer, William Kern, mistook his live service weapon for a simulation gun and struck Gray through a window. Kern was later convicted, served 60 days in jail, and was fired from the police department.
This is one of yours. I mean, he wasn't a Baltimore City police cadet, but he was attempting to be a police officer.
Gray lost an eye. His legal team says he has tremendous cognitive deficit and is partially paralyzed.
Plus, there's still bullet fragment in his brain that could never be removed. All I can say is basically he needs 24/7 care.
Gray's family settled with the city for $8 million. The city had originally offered Gray $200,000 in 2016, an amount at which city officials argued settlements should be capped. Gray's trial team credits Mayor Young with the new settlement.
Through no fault of his own, Mr. Gray was grievously injured. As the mayor directed me, we had a duty, frankly, to do right by this very good public servant.
Back live outside City Hall, Gray receives care at a specialized facility in Silver Spring. Sometimes he comes home to the Baltimore area on weekends to spend time with family. Reporting live from outside City Hall, I'm Paul Gessler for WJZ.
Now you heard the clip. She said the mayor instructed her. When he was city council president, he ain't had no press conference to say anything about it, right? And as the city council president, he's the head of the control board. Even though the mayor of the city has more votes, he could at least, right, use that bully pulpit as a city council president to say, look, we got to pay this man. You understand? So, again, just wanted to put it out there, man. Don't let Jack fool you. As Bob Marley say, I'm just trying to school you. All right? Don't let him school. Don't let him fool you. I'm just trying to school you. Oh, yeah. Or oh, no, in his case. All right? But let me open up the lines. If you got a thought, question, comment, you can go to Radio on Fire. All one word. Facebook page, Radio on Fire. YouTube channel. State of the City, of course. Darren Muhammad. D-A-R-E-N. Muhammad. M-U-H-A-M-M-A-D. Or you can call 404-436-1277. You can get in where you fit in where you get in before we bring the show to an end. And of course, as I said before, I will be having and reaching out as I've been speaking on and off to Brother Chairman Fred Hampton Jr. To have him on prior to December the 4th, which is the 50th year anniversary of his dad's assassination. But I always said, stay watchful, stay vigilant. Of course, tomorrow is Halloween, so stay watchful, stay vigilant. This is one of the most satanic days of all days, occult days. Watch your children, watch your women, watch yourselves out there. So again, stay watchful, stay vigilant when you understand what tomorrow really is, okay? So with that, you got a thought, question, comment, Facebook page, or you can call 404-436-1277. So, but tomorrow also is the day they're supposed to bring up supposedly the impeachment vote in Congress. So that will be trick or treat for sure. So that will be a trick or a treat. But as I always keep telling you, you can't make a trick or treat for sure. And Nancy Pelosi is a trick. Okay. So I know some of y'all brothers think she a treat. I don't know why. Okay. One day I'm about to do a whole show talking about her and the D'Alessandro family and you know her real liking for some. She like them. I'll go to the line. I'll hold that for now. But if you got a thought, question, comment, Facebook page, you can call 404-436-1277. Got any comments up there, my brother?
Yeah, we got comments and
Got a call? Is that a call on your line? Got a couple calls?
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get the callers in.
Yes.
Yes. You on the State of the City,
Yes.
Radio on Fire.
Yes, hello. Good evening, Brother Darren. This is Sister Latoya. How are you?
I knew I was going to get that call. I'm good, my sister. You got to give me one more week on that one. I'm coming to you on that, though, okay?
No,
I promise.
no
one
problem.
more week, I will have that for you.
Okay, and then the second question that I had, and it's related to what you talked about this evening about Brother Malcolm's grandson. Is this the same grandson that was killed in Mexico? I
yes.
think in 2014 or 2015?
Yeah, I think it was 09. I think it might have been 09 when he was 09 or 11 when he was killed, actually.
Oh, okay, because I know he was. I know he had kind of linked up with Dr. Short too.
Yeah, he linked up with Dr. Short, and I still haven't had a conversation with Congresswoman Cynthia McKinney because I was told that she was the one that introduced him to those Mexicans that he was with, right? And went down to Mexico with. So I've never interviewed her since then because I really wanted to get an explanation. When I talked to Dr. Short, he said that she had kind of like cut him off and hadn't returned phone calls. So I still would like to know what she know and who those guys were. Because again, coming back to Chairman Fred Hampton, we had a program we was doing over at the Blacks and Wax. Malcolm and Chairman, they were doing a legacy tour. Chairman Fred was coming in. Malcolm Shabazz was supposed to come in. Malcolm didn't show, and Chairman Fred showed. And what happened, he found out that the guy, J.R. Valley, who broke off from Chairman Fred's group, the POCC, come to find out he was an agent and was out there in San Francisco or out in Oakland. And he was the one also that that did some work with Cynthia McKinney. I think he helped write part of her book. And that he was one of the ones also that apparently introduced Malcolm Latif Shabazz, the grandson of Malcolm X, to these Mexicans, that they took him down into Mexico and then abandoned him, and he was killed in that Mexican restaurant. So, yeah. When Chairman comes on, we'll talk about that because I picked Chairman up from the bus station, and he asked me, did Malcolm call me? And he hadn't called, and nor did he come to Baltimore. He ended up going with J.R. Valley, or Valfrey, I think that was his name, right? And they went somewhere else. They never came. Chairman came down from Philadelphia, and we picked him up from the bus station at that time. So, yeah, that's clearly was a sign that they were beginning to try to make a move by splitting him away from Chairman Fred Hampton Sr. at that time. And Chairman came in, and we came in. He came in with one of the other young brothers who was the grandson of I can't think of one of the great street organizations in Chicago. But anyway, he did come in with one of the other brothers. So, but yeah, when he comes on, hopefully next week or within the next couple of weeks before December the 4th, we'll talk about that.
Okay, and then one other last question. Now, this is related to a lot of the stuff we're seeing with these weaponized celebrities and how they're hijacking our legacy.
Yes.
Because I knew when I saw the Harriet Tubman movie, or at least the trailer. Of course the trailer. When I saw Janelle Monáe, I knew something was up because she's the one pushing this pedophilia, identifying as pansexual.
Right. Transhumanism. That's what she's pushing eventually, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So that's what they're using her as. You know, when she came out with that new video after coming out saying she was a pansexual. So she's definitely part of the weaponized celebrities as well. So good observation and good use of that third eye, my sister. All right.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Give my brother the greetings now, okay?
All right, okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Peace. All right. Straight black pride on you. Yes. Next call. Good evening, caller. You on the State of the City Radio on Fire? No other calls? No. All right, but if you want to get in, you can get in quickly. 404-436-1277. And then hopefully I'll have my brother Irritated Genie, because, of course, he's exposed a lot of this as well. So, again, I got to have that brother back on as well in terms of just the great works that he's been continuing to do. Saw we had, I think, one of the great scholars, Ashwakwezi, on his show this past Monday. So thank you, Brother Genie. Al Kamathi, keep up the great work with that brother has been continuing to do with the Straight Black Pride organization. With that, comments?
Yes. This one says that it's worse than we thought with the death of Latasha Harlins. Soon Jadu was fined $500, sentenced to 5 years probation, 400 hours of community service, and served no prison time.
No prison time. Yeah, Soon Jadu. What's it? Soon Jadu. Do. Yep, clearly. Yep. But that's what March. I want to say it was March 16th. Was that the date she was killed? Yeah, that day should always be etched in our hearts and in our minds, man. If you don't know about Latasha Harlan, you should Google the story. And there's so much videotape that's out there. Well, little, because again, they've been trying to rewrite history, and soon they'll probably do a story on Latasha Harlan. It'll be a biopic done on her, but again, it'll probably be played by a British actor, So with that, come back to the next comment, my brother.
You kind of touched on this, but they say, why does the actor have to come from where the subject is from?
Where the subject, when you say,
I guess I mean for the movies, why does the actor have to?
Clearly, when you understand, again, I think as the Most Elijah Muhammad said that when you study history, he said he said the American devil, when he was describing whites at that time, right? He said they will trick you 95% of the time. He said, but that British devil is the smartest one of them all. They will trick you 100% of the time. So clearly, when you understand the British Tavistock Institute, a lot of that tied to human behavior, they don't want any spark in the dark to come to our people. So clearly, when you look at the emotions, when you look at the facial features, when you look at the reaction from these so-called stars, they don't bring our vernacular. They don't have our, whether you just want to say swag, they don't bring the struggle. They don't bring any of that to them. So who you are, you bring that to you when you go into whatever genre or work or business or anything else you're going to do. You know what I mean? They don't bring that. So clearly that's why. So they're no threat to, again, the producers, to those who are behind the scenes that are controlling the entire thing. They're no threat to them. So clearly that's why they're bringing them forward, as we saw with Dr. King and Selma. That was a biopic. They couldn't even use King's speeches for the most part. So this is what we're seeing that's being laid out and played out on our people. He could speak like colloquial languages if he was King speaking, but he couldn't do any direct quotes about King. Like, I've been to the mountaintop, right? I have a dream. He couldn't say any of that because the King family owned it. So Oprah and DuVernay was essentially rewriting history. When they had the bombing, it was in Birmingham, Alabama, but they made you think it was in Selma when the 4 little girls were blown up in the church. See, they were rewriting history, and this is what they're doing now. So just keep your eyes open on that. Now, there's supposed to be other Harriet Tubman movies coming out. I think, what's her name? Viola Davis? Yeah. I think she's doing one also. And, of course, Big Oprah Harpo, she got to come out with something. You know that, right? That's how the game is played, right? Yeah. But never, as I said before, at the same time, they're talking about selling off the house of Harriet Tubman. You can go online to YouTube or go online to Google and Google that, and you don't hear those who will try to make money off of this, because they know black women who they're really targeting this movie to, and black young girls, they will be the ones going to the movie theater to see Harriet Tubman. But if they can use this to push a thespian agenda, right? To say that you got to resist Trump or resist this, they'll use that to get you organized. And it's coming right before the 2020 election. None of that's no coincidence when you begin to connect some dots. So, next question. Is it one there or no?
No, it is. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Baltimore city government is corrupt.
Absolutely. It's a criminal enterprise. I wouldn't even call it a government. We got to take it back from them and make it a government. Because right now, it's a criminal enterprise, man. That's what it is. It's a runaway criminal enterprise. You know what I mean? Well, you got hotels not paying water bills, but yet your mayor can go out and raise $250,000, right? That's all he worrying about. And then you get others going out there talking about the squeegee. They're going to tell you the number one problem in the city is some damn squeegee boys. with all the bodies popping up in the city, right?
Has been a lot.
Ain't nobody doing no squeegee bars in the city, man. So the same way they put police in booths to protect Hopkins and University of Maryland employees, put them police in the booths in the hood, man. That's all you got to do. And the so-called areas that's the most prominent, right, where you see a large amount of violence, and then go get them brothers in the Nation of Islam that's running around here co-signing for Jack Young, see another young brother co-signing for Sharon Green Middleton. If they up Park Heights, and they are up in that Park Heights, what do you call it? Park Heights Mental Health Alliance building, because I ran into a couple of brothers up there. They up there doing patrols. Put them in some booths at night. And if ain't nobody shooting in the daytime, then had them doing some patrols at night then. That's all. If it's going to be, again, man, it's going to be freedom for everybody or freedom for nobody. If you're going to be up there doing patrols and Sean Wren locking down the Jewish community, they can lock down their community, then you should be patrolling in our community. And do the patrols at night, or tell them get you a couple of them nice booths. They got heating systems in those booths that them Hopkins police be in. They get Baltimore City police working in there. They got sheriff deputies working in there, right? So all I'm saying, man, they know what works, right? Because ain't nobody being shot around there in front of Hopkins because they got eyes and ears out there, right? So you do the same thing in Park Heights. You do the same thing in Druid Heights. You do the same in Coppin Heights. It's the same thing, right? Then you can hire them brothers, man. And then they got this group called Roka running around here. They paid them $17 million to come here. I don't know what the hell they doing, man. Right? They got them running around like they the what's that other group? Living Classroom? Where I seen them had some young guys doing like lawn care, cleaning up lawns or something like that. They bought this group here under Kathy Pugh, gave them $17 million. They out of Massachusetts. And they claim they work with young people. Well, how come they ain't out there working with them squeegee boys then? Right? They got more money than Bunley and all them groups running around here grant chasing right now. You know what I mean? They got more money than Ceasefire. Oh yeah, Ceasefire be out of hibernation this weekend, right? I know I saw a Ceasefire flyer.
That was the next question.
I seen a Ceasefire brochure around here, man. They coming out of hibernation. Let me see if I got that brochure. I saw a Ceasefire. They done moved on up, boy. They really done snaked their way up to the top. They got a Ceasefire brochure. First they just had little black and white little placards, right? They got a Ceasefire brochure. Now they can't tell me one piece of legislation that they got passed since they've been running around here, right? This their fourth ceasefire weekend, man.
They got the brochure, so they moving up. Give them a couple years.
Ceasefire is controlled, as I keep telling y'all, by the Baltimore Community Mediation Center on 33rd Street, okay? Then they have a Baltimore Community Mediation. Well, it's not called Baltimore. It's called Community Mediation in Tacoma Park, Maryland, right? That's where Erica Bridgeforth worked. Now I'm telling y'all, okay? So what happens is, if brothers and sisters get in and they break the law and they go to court, then what happens is the judge orders them into community mediation, right? And then who you think getting the community mediation, and they're going to get your ID, they're going to get your straw man number because they're going to make some money off of you. That's going to be Baltimore Community Mediation up there on 33rd. Man, you ever see them up on 33rd doing anything? And you got powerful white lawyers from the law firm of what's that law firm all the way up in what's that law firm sit up on Smith Avenue up there by John Hopkins and Smith 5801? What's that law firm? It's not Venable Batcher. It's the other one. It's the big law firm though. That's who sits on the board of Ceasefire in the Baltimore Community Mediation Center, man. They had a fundraiser for them down at a Jewish synagogue in Arnold, Maryland, man. Ain't nobody doing no drive-bys in Arnold. You understand? And they got mad with me for just telling the people, this is not a grassroots organization, man. You know what I mean? But they the new HNICs for the most part. The new head niggas in charge, all right? And anything happened, and they did Manir Baha like that with 300 men, right? Then they just got them somebody else after that. And then now they got Erica Bridgeforth. I mean, and she like the new flavor of the year right now. Look, they saw what they call that thing, what they call that national group they was calling, what they call it, the women's group that was out there with the pink hats on, the pink pussycat hats, right? Then they went and got Me Too movement, right? So they saw this coming, so they said, well, what we gonna do? Get in front of it. We gotta get a black woman this time. And she looked like a little feminist black woman, right? Then they went and got her, and they played on the fact she got a little deformity, right? You know they played on that. Get some empathy and sympathy, man. Like Lil Mabutu, like Sally Struthers used to do. You know what I mean? Otherwise, why they having a fundraiser for them in Arnold, Maryland? Arnold, Maryland is right next to Annapolis, man. Right? At a Jewish synagogue. Right? But yet they claim to be. Now, when I said this, she came in Terror Cafe, cussed me out with her daughter, man. You know what I mean? Now, did you see him at the last ceasefire when they was out there on Emerson and Wildwood twerking? I know you saw them out there twerking, bro. Tell me you didn't. Tell me you saw that. They was out there when they were playing the music. They started twerking, right?
That was a bad twerk.
That was a bad twerk, but they was twerking in the middle of it. Talking about, hey, this is how we stop a fight, right?
Would you interview her, or would you have somebody from Ceasefire on your show?
I would have somebody from as long as they can act civilized. You know what I mean?
Right.
She always showed me she can't act civilized. Once you touch them buttons and you start calling out them fake white liberals that control them, see, they gotta attack you for their masters, man. And that's what she was doing. She started crying, I can't believe they talking about us. I said, wait a minute. If what you doing is sincere, right, then you wouldn't have a problem with us having some conversation about it.
Will you say that she started grassroots and then more money got poured in from
other
places?
No. There was no ceasefire. She was with Mania Baha and them group. And they became mad with Mania because what happened was the whites was on Mania's board. The whites from MICA, Maryland Institute of College of Arts, was on Mania's board. And then they were saying the women were not getting supposedly a voice at the table. This is what the black women were saying, that the white women were getting a voice at the table. Well, who you think got the voice at the table at Baltimore Community Mediation Center? White women.
Definitely.
But she said she was mad with Mania for the same thing, right? So what they really wanted was to get, FaceTime on the camera. That's what they really wanted. That's all it was. And you know what Mania got out of it? A white woman, right? He got a white woman, right? And that's it. As I always say, they co-op you, and when they finish with you, they gonna cold drop you. And they gonna cold drop him eventually. You know what I mean? They gonna cold drop ceasefire, man. They just using ceasefire, and then they use them as sick'em dogs against the masses of our people. When the police killing people, ceasefire never say anything about the police. They never say anything about the gun trace task force. You notice that? But yet they'll come out to our people and tell our people, right? Ceasefire, be nonviolent, right? So you can't be selective in what violence you want to talk about. When the police killing, you don't want to say nothing. When the police beating, you don't want to say nothing, right? But when it's somebody else who you being told to go out and tell them to beat the ceasefire, right? Then they come to us. So that's the hypocrisy. And if they did that, you know what would happen? The police would say to them, cut their money off. So that's why they're not going to do that, right? So that's the shit. But they send mixed signal to our people when they do that, right? That's the bottom line. But they don't want to have no real conversation. Myself, Brother David Johnson, Brother David Anthony Wiggins, Brother Donald Smith, Sister Nikki, we all talked about that before. On social media, they was going in, right? Wanted to challenge us to fight us. But the only one that didn't want to challenge the fighters was Brother Juan. You know what I mean? Right? He was the only one. But she wanted to fight. And I know them because they come out of some of the circles of people like Mama Rashida Foreman Bay with the drum. She was just a little dancer with one arm when I first saw her, right? But as soon as we started talking about Mania, next thing you know, she called me all kind of MFers and all that. You know what I mean? I said, for what? Right? I must be hitting a nerve, or I'm telling say when you throw the rock, the dog you hit gonna be the one to make the most noise, right? So ceasefire will be out of hibernation this week. I know this is bear hunting season right now, okay? But they will be out this weekend, all right? Because it's the first of the month. If I can keep it 100, it's the first of the month, okay? So be on the lookout. Bolo alert, ceasefire. Tell them cease cooning. That's what Brother Muhammad said, okay? Don't apply, let it fly, but you know who you are. It could be coming out for Halloween. Trick or treat. Trick or treat, okay? Remember what I said. You can't make a trick or treat. So that next comment, my brother.
Yeah, you got some good ones.
Yes, sir.
I saw Catherine Pugh at the funeral.
Yes. Was she sober? Was she sober? I know she might have stayed for the repast. You know what I mean? Might have stayed free food and drinks. If she ain't there, Nat Oaks probably try to get out of free jail pass to be down there. You know what I mean? My good friend Elijah died. I got to get there. Free drinks on the house. And Nat Oaks is the goofy under the koofy. Nat Oaks. Next comment, my brother.
This is one of the reasons why the cost of living in California is going up so drastically, because the globalists are trying to build a speed railroad track.
Yep, and they want to bring one to Maryland. Stay tuned. Governor Hogan talked about a maglev train, right, to run to Washington, D.C. So keep your eye out from New York to D.C. So they coming with it. You know what I mean? All that's coming down the pipe. So people that live near the land they want, you'll see some strange things go down too. Fires and, if they can't get you off by fire, they just come and use eminent domain. Take your property, man. So that's coming. So if you don't know what Agenda 21 is, look it up. You in Agenda 21. If you don't know what Growth and Sustainability Act 2030, all these mayors that's taking money have now set up growth and sustainability offices in their city. You know, when Sheila Dixon was the mayor, she set it up, right? Yeah. So she growing government as opposed to shrinking government. Can't get your trash picked up, but she can set up growth and sustainability, right? Cut your trash reduction down to 1 day a week, man. Then got nerve to say the city dirty. We'll go back to 2 day a week pickups.
We need 2 days.
That's all you got to do. How come you don't hear them dumb mayors, right? Jubilo and Jubilum or Jubidum. How come you don't hear Jack Young and Brandon Scott saying just basic stuff like that? If I became the mayor, we going back to 2 day a week pickup trash, right? They got it now in downtown. They pick up their trash every day.
No, they pick it up every day.
You know what I mean? Right. Yeah. So go back to 2 day a week. Come on, man. If you don't want the city to be dirty, that's all you got to do, right? So same thing.
We used to be a lot cleaner city.
Absolutely. So next comment before we have to begin to wrap up. Got a question? Comment?
I know Chairman Hampton does not approve of the movie Jesus Is My Homeboy.
I don't know if he's read the whole script, but again, we talked on and off yesterday, so we'll eventually be talking over the next couple of days. But I haven't seen the script, but I just say to those in Chicago, like Sister Leela Wills, Brother Marcus Klein, and others that are there, watch our brother, watch his family, stay watchful and vigilant over these next 30 to 45 days with this 50th year anniversary of his father's assassination coming up, because I know they're coming at him. And coming at his mom and coming at his family, in many ways. Sometimes this is seen and then the unseen. Sometimes they'll come to fill you out, to see if, see what you will do or how much you will, quote unquote. I'm not saying he's capitulating, but, but it's like being in a hornet's nest. They're seeing how much how much you will accept, how much you will tolerate, as well. So I just say keep your eyes open, but again, read more about who is in those movies, because you'll see what other roles they've played in. And I told you the guy, Daniel, what's his name? Kool-Aid. He's supposed to play, what I tell you his next movie he's supposed to be in? Barney the Dinosaur, right? Now that's quite straight. See, when we come up, my children, older children, watch, Barney the Dinosaur or something like that, right? He's known for singing I Love You, right? Right? So he's purple. So again, all I'm saying, you can see where they're gonna go with this, and that's their motto with the LGBTQ. What they say, love wins, right? When them guys won that same-sex marriage, what they say, love wins, right? Right. So they're not talking about the universal agape love. That's not what they're talking about. Okay? So keep your eyes open on that. But it'd be kind of hard to explain how you go from playing Chairman Fred Hampton Sr., right, to Barney the Dinosaur. All right? So, but that's British. Again, that's the British. Again, Tavistock Institute, which was all about human behavioral and mind control. Okay? So, next comment.
What do you think of the comparisons between Trump and Tricky Dick as far as the pony show going on?
Tricky Dick? Well, again, I think I'd have to really do an in-depth analysis on Trump and Nixon. Nixon was not about... See, Nixon... There were some good things Nixon did, and there were some not so good things in terms of what Nixon did as well. So I really would have to probably do a comparison. But I don't. When you look at what they're talking about, as far as with this whole impeachment, there's no comparison there. But I'll have to eventually do like a historical analysis of the impeachment. Then look at the Clintons. Hillary Clinton was back there, right? They fired her with the stuff she was doing.
As an attorney.
She was an attorney back there. But we'll come back and talk about it. That's a good question, though, to, I think, really look at, and then bring it up to date and look at this so-called impeachment process and how it's being handled compared to how it was handled for Nixon, how it was handled for Clinton, right? Because it's being done totally different for Trump, like him or not, in terms of the way that it's being done.
Well, people do got to keep in mind that there was a special prosecutor with Nixon.
Right.
And specific guidelines, and
they still had to go through the investigation had to go through the Judiciary Committee, and both instances
in secret though,
right? But the Judiciary Committee had to investigate. Then there still had to be the public testimony. They're not even allowing public testimony. right?
If they don't have public
they're only
testimony,
allowing select people that eventually will speak.
They shouldn't do it like that. They need to have the complete thing public.
But how is it supposed? Right, the way it should be done. Right, and it's not being done that way. So that's why. But again, as I keep saying, you can impeach, but the question will be, will the Senate impeach? No. And then, of course, that's why the re-election. But all they're doing is, all they're going to do is boost them. You know what I mean? That's all they're going to do is eventually boost Trump even more.
They think that this is going to throw mud on them, though.
Well, they think that's basically the Democratic campaign, is to throw mud on Trump. See,
Right.
first they were telling me he's a boogeyman. Trump gonna get you. Trump gonna get you. You know what I mean? They said if he get in there, first as soon as he get in there, he gonna round up all black people. They were trying to really scare our people, man. You know what I mean? It didn't happen. In 3 years it hadn't happened, right? And now they talking about if he get back in there, that's what he gonna do. So that's what the boogeyman approach ain't working, right? Then it was the Russian hoax. Then it was the Ukraine hoax. Then it was he's a racist hoax. So it's like, what's next? You know what I mean? But you're not trying to appeal to the intellect of the people to say, let's have a Marshall Plan to rebuild these cities, man. This is what we can do, right? Right now, the Democrats trying to pass a perverted version of the segments of the Voting Rights Act for 2019, but they really want to do it in 2020. You know why? It's an election year. You understand? Now, you done brought up the gays, right? You done brought up the equality bill. You done brought up, as Dr. Claude Anderson said, you done brought up the broke backs, humpbacks, wetbacks, and all other kind of backs. Now you want to bring up me. As Malcolm said, you put them first and you put us last. Because they want to use us as a political pawn now. You understand? You ain't say nothing when the Supreme Court struck down our voting rights, right? Sections of the Voting Rights Act.
The Democrats.
The Democrats, yeah, right? So now you want to bring it up to use it as a pawn to try to get blacks to register to vote what? For the Democratic Party. That's what they trying to do that for, man. Nothing else. You know what I mean? While everybody else, you want to get them reparations to Kardashians, talking about reparations for the Armenians, the Jews talking about some new they talking about some new Holocaust reparations insurance act. You know what I mean? Right? Well, they got us waiting there and shit, man, waiting on Social Security and welfare check. You know what I mean? So that's the game being played on our people, man. You ain't talking about no opportunity zones. You ain't talking about the First Step Act, right? Black colleges soon gonna be obsolete because all the Indians and the Arabs and the Pakistanis and everybody else going there. And when they go, even the whites going there, they gonna get minority scholarships because they had an HBCU, man. And most of them bringing cash money. The ones coming in from their countries, they paying cash, man. So the presidents of the HBCUs, most of them boule, they capitulating, they bowing down to that cash that's coming to their campuses, man. You know? And soon, if you saw what they've been talking about with Morehouse, right? They calling that toxic masculinity. You say, wait a minute. You're not calling it toxic masculinity when two guys trying to get together. But just the fact you got an all-male black college. You think they would go to an all-male white college and dare call that toxic masculinity? So that's their way of targeting what's left of any real, right, historically black colleges that you can still try to get some men to be men and women to be women. Because then once they do it to the men, they're going to eventually come over to Spelman and do it to the women. You know what I mean? So, keep your eyes open on that, man. But again, you tune to the State of the City. I think we can take maybe one or two more, and then we got to begin to wrap up.
Bill Henry is going to run for city controller.
Yeah, I saw the article in the Baltimore Brew about Joan Pratt hired the guy who got dismissed because he was like misappropriating money from some other office. And then as soon as she hired him, he ordered like $65,000 worth of furniture. It's in the Baltimore Brew. You go online and read it, man. But Joan Pratt sleep at the wheel, man. I mean, she really been sleep at the wheel with what's been going on in the city. And that's the sad part. So Bill Henry's going to run. He may win, may not win, but I do know the person that they're going to put in that seat after Bill Henry is Ken Harris Sr.'s daughter, Nicole Harris. I think her name Nicole Harris Kress. She now works for the state's attorney's office, makes about over $100,000. So she's running for a job that pays maybe $60,000, if that. So, but her treasurer will be Martin O'Malley's treasurer, Martin Cadigan. So clearly O'Malley, as I said, is a poor man's Bob Baffert in terms of putting his money on all these black horses and then putting his treasurer over all these black horses. Bob, you know Bob Baffert, the white man with the white hair.
I do know who that is.
He be training all the black and brown horses. So he'll have 4 horses running in the Preakness, right? So if one don't win, the other one gonna win, right? That's how O'Malley's doing with these Negroes, man. So if Jack go down, he got Brandon. If Brandon go down, he got Ken Harris' daughter waiting in the wings to run her for something, man. So that's how O'Malley playing these Negroes. And Jack came out after saying he didn't want to be mayor. Now he came out and said he running for mayor, right? Then he came out with them ugly green and yellow signs, man. That's Irish green, it looked like to me. You know what I mean? That's his daddy O'Malley green. That's what it looked like to me, man. Maybe more gang green than it is green. But anyway, now all of a sudden he said he running after saying he didn't want to be mayor, man. So again, Jack talking with a forked tongue, man, in terms of, again, his hypocrisy and no real consistency with what he's done in the city. And the brothers in the street ain't feeling Jack, and they definitely ain't feeling Brandon Scott, man. The people want somebody new and true. They don't want the same old warmed over, porridge for the most part, man. So, and that's what Jack and Brandon represent. It's nothing new. So for him to get up at the funeral last week at Elijah Cummings and say he represents something new, nothing could be further from the truth. Brandon Scott don't represent nothing new. Then Elijah Cummings' wife got up there. Now, notice the children didn't even sit on the same row with her. So they hate that wench that much? They didn't even sit on the same row with her, man. She didn't have no children with him. Them children didn't want to sit with that heifer, as they say. You know what I mean? So
there was a 20-year age difference.
Well, regardless.
First and foremost.
Yeah, absolutely. You mean between her and Elijah?
Between her and Elijah.
Yeah.
And, kids don't like that.
Yeah.
They feel like you coming in on
But you could see all she was trying to do was push the political part. You understand?
Yes.
And again, as we begin to wrap, I still keep asking who was with him when he died, took his last breath. I ain't heard his pastor. I ain't heard Todd Yeary, who running around talking about he might want to run, right? I ain't heard nobody say what was his last words, man. Now I said every Easter they go to church talking about the last 7 words of Jesus. You know what I mean, right? What was the last words of Elijah Cummings, man? That's what I'm asking. Who did he speak to, right? Who was around him when he died? You ain't seen no doctor, no nurse. And I know Negroes like to be braggadocious, right? And say before he gave up the ghost, he told me he want me to take a seat. I mean, you didn't hear Kwaisi, you don't fool me say that. You know what I mean? And I hope they don't try to run him, man. With all them skeletons and van lines and full bodies he got in that closet, man. Please don't run the court. Please don't bring Kwaisi and fool me. Please don't do that. He would be an embarrassment, man, if he did that. But again, the gangsters that run the Democratic Party, they want stability. And they think by getting an old guard like Kwaisi, who they control, that gives them stability. When the people, notice when other whites moved on, like Sarbanes, they didn't go get an old person that was in before Sarbanes and put him in there, right? And then notice, at a time when, Barbara Mikulski went down, like out there in California, when her name was Boxer, when she retired, and they went and got Kamala Harris and gave Kamala Harris, at least they got a woman for a woman, right? Barbara Mikulski steps down, even though Barbara Mikulski is a woman. Some say she a man. They call her Bobby Mikulski. You know that, right? Her lover is Maggie McIntosh, right?
I was unaware.
Maggie McIntosh, the delegate Maggie McIntosh. Yes. So anyway, make a long story short, since both of them are short, right? Rather than put a woman in when Barbara Mikulski ran and gave up her seat, they put in Van Hollen, right? And the Democratic Party didn't say nothing about that, man. But yet they say this the year of the woman. Peep that now, right? So what's her name? Donna Edwards ran. They didn't want to put Edwards in there, man.
She ain't get it.
And the black women in Baltimore, like Joan Carter Gonaway, she didn't want to support her. She said, I don't even know Donna Edwards. She ain't never spoke to me. That's loud talking Joan Carter Gonaway. You know what I mean? She ain't Conaway. She gone away now, right? But that's what she said. She ain't want to see a black woman in Congress, man. Unless Martin O'Malley or them white boys told her that it was okay, right? So that's the legacy of Baltimore City, see? And they talk about the poor people down at the bottom can't get along. They up top and can't get along, right? And that's the message they send to the masses about people down low. See?
Well, you definitely not going to like this last comment.
Yeah, please come on with that last comment. I had something I want to say. Come on with it.
I want Marilyn Mosby for his seat.
Marilyn Mosby. Well, I'm going to say again. Marilyn Mosby's treasure is Martin O'Malley's treasure. So I just told you, Martin O'Malley is the poor man or the black. He's the white Bob Baffert of Baltimore City politics, man. So Marilyn Mosby doesn't represent anything new. That's all I'm keep telling you. See? Don't let him fool you. And if you don't believe me, just Google or go down, call the board. What do you call it? Where they file their campaign finance reports? With the board of
elections.
Board of elections.
Yeah.
Board of elections, man. Just say I want to. Just call them. Say I want to know Marilyn Mosby's treasurer is, man. Or call Marilyn Mosby office.
Yeah, you can go on the website and they show you. Yeah.
It's Martin Cadigan. Look, man. Birds of a feather flock together. Okay, so that's all I'm saying in terms of Marilyn Mosby. She just a pretty face and a high place. What do you say? Pretty face, tight in the waist, right? Sitting in a high place. That's about it, man. So, again, don't let them fool you. Okay? So that's all I got to say. That, we got to begin to wrap up the show. We'll still take more comments if you want to comment. We'll be back here, of course, Saturday, State of the City, WFBR, and then next Wednesday, 7 to 9 p.m. Please support Radio on Fire. Their Cash App, $ Radio on Fire, all one word. My Cash App, $ SOTC Muhammad. So please support the State of the City so we can continue to come longer and stronger. Got a young brother, Brother Damon Walker, the brother who is a paraplegic, but the brother ran in the marathon, right? Participated in terms of biking in the marathon, and the brother said he wants to get a show. So we'll be looking at how we can help him get a show over here as well. So he's eager to tell his story and let other brothers and sisters tell their story as well with the work that he's doing, going in and out of facilities, helping those who are now paralyzed, whether they're quadriplegics or paraplegics, because that's another story that's not talked about, with all those that are victims of gun violence or those who have been in car accidents and are now either quadriplegics and paraplegics, and their family has to kind of provide care for them, but also he could show them how they can access resources and services as well. And he's going around speaking to young brothers and sisters and speaking to young people, of course, about the dangers of course, the dangers, but also in terms of what they can do, because that's not the end of their life if they're able to survive gunshot wounds or a horrific car accident that's left them paralyzed as well. So I thank that brother and commend that young brother, Brother Damon Walker, for the good work that he's doing. So I thank all of you that tuned in. Of course, you want to send me that Facebook request. I'm at Darren Muhammad, Daren, Muhammad, MUHAMMAD. So in the meantime, in between time, as I always say, stay watchful, stay vigilant. It's Halloween tomorrow, okay? So stay watchful, stay vigilant. Might want to stay out in all them crowded in places and spaces tomorrow. But until next Wednesday, 7 to 9 p.m., God bless. We got that closing track, my brothers. We continue to clean up this mess. And thank you for giving me that extended time today or tonight. So, again, we ran over probably just normal schedule. Close out at 9, but we went a little 10, 15 tonight. So we'll be back here next Wednesday. Until then, peace.